Hello and welcome back to the Game Bet Match podcast. I'm your host Manny Friedman, along with my co-host.
Brad Sloan.
Welcome back to the house, baby.
Yeah, back in the house, baby.
Back in the house. It's been a while, right? When was the last
It's
time
been
we
a week.
potted?
Did we pot for the Wimbledon final or not? Or did we not pot for the semis?
I think the semis.
Okay.
Because you were at the wedding, right?
That's right. Yeah, I was out. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
but I visited Manny, went to Newport. That was a
it was
good day.
nice. Yeah,
That was a really interesting tournament to go to.
it was. It was. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a very intimate atmosphere. It was pretty good. I thought the outer court was amazing. Like honestly.
Oh, the outdoor atmosphere was amazing. Like I thought that was really cool. How they had literally no stands. Like it was literally
No stance, and I was alarmed to see how, because it's the first time I've ever been to a grass court tournament, like how low that ball bounces. Like you don't get that true feeling on TV, but when you see it in person, especially like right next to the court, it's crazy. It's
I wonder
crazy.
how much that is Newport, because even watching on TV, like Newport, that grass looks really beat up, man. Like
Yeah.
even center court, like that grass is not like it's in good shape. And actually, players have been complaining about. I don't know if you watched the Opelka McDonald match, but Opelka said there was a hole in the court. He got called for a foot fault, and then he went to the ump and he's like, "What do you want me to do? There's a hole in the middle of the court, so I can't stand where I normally stand to serve."
That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. They're calling it a goat track, which is like, and I actually didn't know what a goat track was because I don't golf, but apparently it's a poorly maintained golf course. Which is funny because it
That's
kind of
pretty
looks like it,
funny.
to be honest. It looks like a golf course with
Yeah.
a lot of divots. It's like,
Well, it's probably why it's no longer an ATP tournament after this year, but there's going to be a challenger there, which is nice, right? So we can
yeah, I
still
think it's
attend
nice.
it,
So a Challenger 125. The only thing it's going to be weird is it's going to be during the second half of Wimbledon, I think.
which is fine. That's fine. That's like a dud
Ah,
week almost,
I think
right?
it makes it kind of weird because, like, I think it'll end up being kind of a dud week because I feel like the reason why, like, Challengers like the Phoenix Challenger do so well is that it's right next to Indian Wells, right? So all the players are there.
Yeah, but I mean, after the first week of Wimbledon, a lot of people are knocked out, right? So they're going to be like flying all over. And if they want another grass court tournament where they feel like they have better results, like they're going to go there.
Yeah, but are they going to fly back to America for a week? Like, if they're planning to go play the
Yeah,
European
but
Clay, are they
then
going to
they
fly
but
back to
then they can
America for?
play then the hard court swing starts right after that. So like it's a good transition. I don't think it's bad.
I think it'll be okay. I think it'll get like a week. I think it'll get a week mostly American field.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't
which
think it'll, like I don't think it'll have the strength of like some of these other challengers. You know, again, like mentioning like
true.
the Phoenix Challenger, or there's a couple other ones that are that get really strong fields. I don't think it'll
Yeah.
look like that.
I mean, just living so close, I'm just happy that there is an event there, right, that I can attend.
Well, it's the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Like there should be an event there. You know.
Right. Right.
And I don't think it's a terrible thing that's it's going to be a women's event also, like that. I think that's fine. I don't think it's a
Yeah.
terrible thing. So
Well, I guess before we preview the six matches for tomorrow, or eight matches for tomorrow, let's just recap some stuff. We gotta talk about that Navone Nadal match.
So you want to start there? You want to start with Wimbledon semis and finals?
I guess we can beat our chest from the Wimbledon final handicap, right?
A little bit. I mean, I yeah, I think I think it's one where like watching a lot of tennis really helps. Because like the one thing I will say is like if you had any kind of model that was modeling out more than 6 months, like Novak looked fine up until the end of last year, but he's just a completely different guy now. And
Mhm.
then the second piece is like there's a few guys on the tour that are not scared. Alcaraz is not scared. Like we
Mhm.
talk about this a lot, and it'll be a good transition in the Navone and Nadal match. But like 90% of these guys are just scared, man. They're like scared to beat the
Yeah.
top players. Alcaraz is not scared.
I mean, it's a very short list of guys who are not scared, right? Like
Yeah.
what's the list? It's Alcaraz center and that's it.
No, I mean, I would say Zverev if it's not a slam final. I don't think he's too scared. Unless it's a slam
Yeah,
semi
but
or
he's
final, then
not
he's
he's
terrified.
rarely beaten these guys in big spots though. Like,
But I feel like that's because you're mostly when you're talking big spots, you're talking about a lot more slams than like again like big best of three spots. Um,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I even like Medvedev is slightly scared. Like, I don't think he's fully scared, but I think he's slightly scared. Um,
He's an interesting case because like I feel like he doesn't have the weapons to kind of deal with it. Like I feel like he needs a dip in their level to get over the hump.
maybe I feel like I'm thinking of I'm thinking of specifically um like was he there was the match against Nadal at the U.S. Open, right? Where he like where the 5-set loss to Nadal at the U.S. Open. There was the loss from 5-1 up against Nadal again at the World Tour Finals, 5-1 up in the third. Like I feel like he's had a hard time. Like the only time he's really
Point.
ever overcome one of those guys in a big spot, right, is when he beat uh
Novak.
Djokovic in the U.S. Open final.
Yeah.
Lost from 2 sets up against
That's
Sinner. That
because
was probably
Novak
more
got and
fatigue.
that's only because Novak got scared in that match.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Ironically.
Yeah. Um. I don't think Hubie's scared, but he just doesn't have enough game. And like,
That's the end of
yeah,
the
Hubie might be
list.
kind of scared too. I think Hubie's semi scared. I think Hubie's semi scared.
I mean, you can make the argument that he outplayed Djokovic in that round of 16 Wimbledon match last
Yeah,
year,
and he just
right?
got he's
And
kind
he
of
got
in
scared in
between.
those tie breaks, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very, very short list of guys who are not scared, right? It's like Alcaraz center and end of list. Like that's what it
Of
feels
guys
like.
who are not scared, full stop. Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas like with those two guys, I feel like it doesn't really matter the scenario. It's like they're gonna come out, believe they can win, play their best. Like they might come out second, but like it's not gonna be because of like mental weakness and timidness that they lose, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think like that's the main point. But like it's crazy. It's just these guys have built such an aura, and I feel like Alcaraz is building that aura quickly.
Yeah, I think he is.
Now
More so than Sinner.
more so than Sinner. Oh, 100%. Because I think with Alcaraz, his movement and athleticism is intimidating.
I agree. I also wonder like how much of it is just like his general actions are intimidating. And I'm saying like the way he acts in between points, like I don't know. Like should it get into guys' heads? No. Is anybody ever actually gonna say it gets in their heads? Of course not. But it might, right? The fact that like,
I don't
he
think he
plays a
has
great
that
point, he
Nadal
starts
effect
jumping around,
where
the crowd goes nuts. Like,
I don't necessarily think he has that Nadal effect where it's like, in the locker room he's, jumping and doing all this stuff and
no,
sprinting
I'm
to
not
the
saying the
baseline after the
pre-match
point
Nadal effect.
toss.
I'm saying like I'm saying during the match. Like when he wins a big point, he's much more emotional about it than Sinner,
Well, Tommy
Like,
Paul brought that up. He was like in his press conference after the quarterfinals, he's like, you don't want to let Alcaraz win one of those circus points because he changes the momentum with that. I feel like it's almost better to just like hit it in the net if it's becoming a circus point, you know? You don't want him to generate that momentum.
yeah.
It's just he's building that aura of just like also his 5-set record. I think that's a part of it because when you're 12-1 in 5-set matches, like you don't want to get there, you know,
Yeah.
because he's just such a beast there. So and
And
that's
that might be the one thing, right? Like the Sinner's a lower energy player, right? And I
right.
think that might be the one thing that also like I don't know, gives guys belief. Whereas like Alcaraz, the energy seems limitless, right? So like you're not gonna like
Well, with Sinner, you know that if you make the match physical, you're in with a chance, right? Like
yeah.
if you can get it to that point where tennis, like just the tennis itself, is not the biggest like component of who's going to win that match, and you make it about other things, physicality and all that other stuff, you're in with a big chance, and that's exactly what Medvedev did, and that's why I think just Alcaraz is just better right now, you know.
Yeah, I mean it's that's a tough debate. I think you gotta separate like It might be that Alcaraz is better in best of 5 and Sinner is better in best of 3.
Okay, but the one best of 3 match they play this year, Alcaraz got him. So I don't
Probably
necessarily
on Alcaraz's favorite
argue.
court, right? And
Okay.
in 3 sets, like I don't know. Like Sinner certainly had a much better record in 3 sets than Alcaraz over the past 6 months, 12 months, whatever time period you want to
Okay.
take.
So that's fair. But unfortunately, the biggest events are are best of 5 for the men, right? Like for
Yeah,
Sinner.
I mean, yeah, that's the unfortunate part for Sinner, right? Is that like, yeah. It's
Yeah.
just great. The other funny part is that I mean, and it won't be for very long, but Novak's still holding on to number 2 in the world in the
Yeah,
official
because
ranking.
neither of them lost or gained points from that Wimbledon final, right? Like
Yeah,
it just
yeah. It's just funny to me that
yeah.
like
I mean, honestly, we should have been more aggressive and went the -2.5 sets. Like it was such a mismatch. It was incredible.
I don't feel bad about playing it the way we did, the -1.5 sets and the -2 games for the most part. Like I think that was because it's just the way Alcaraz is. He is still a little, I don't know, I guess inconsistent, erratic, whatever you want to call it. But he could have easily. I mean, like he could have lost that third set, the one he won in the tiebreak, and it would have been a stupid set to lose. But like he sometimes loses those. You know what I mean? He
Fair.
occasionally loses sets he shouldn't lose. So I thought the 3-1, or not necessarily the 3-1 itself, but the -1.5 sets was the way to go.
Okay. All right. I mean, obviously, it was a good call, and it was nice that we actually cashed from a good handicap, right? Like,
Yeah,
there's sometimes you make a good handicap and you come up on the losing end, right?
yeah. Happens
Uh,
a lot.
happens a lot. So, like, I guess we can move there next, right? The top
Yeah.
20 guy on clay, right?
What? Top 20 guy? Yeah, top 20 player on clay. Well, I think he had a chance to prove that certainly today. And he just a really aggravating match to watch, man. I mean, you and I both had a lot of money on it in opposite directions.
Yeah.
I had the wrong cap. Like putting anything that was counting on Navone to win that match outright was just a bad cap. Like from me, like it was one of those situations where like I was on the right side, but just the wrong line. Like I completely agree with you. It's just when these guys are playing their heroes, it's really hard for them to win.
Yeah, it is. Exactly.
Like you could take the games, you could take a player over, you could take you could take a lot of different lines.
Well, literally any other pro Navoni line besides the money line would have hit,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's frustrating. I wish we talked or did a pod last night because I
I
definitely
and I yeah, I completely and I'm sure you would have talked me off of it because it wasn't something that I had a hard time seeing by like midway through the match, you know?
right.
And
Because
then I was
most
frustrated because Navone was up 2-0 40 love. And I was like, oh, I'm just gonna let him get the third game so I can
it
hedge.
didn't matter. It didn't matter. Like, remember when he got the break in the third set, right? And I think he was up 2 love, right? And had 40 love to go up 3 love or
Yeah.
something like that, right? And I wasn't worried. I had Nadal
Yeah.
futures. I had like Nadal in a massive parlay. I was like, he can be down 4-0. It wouldn't
And I
matter.
was literally sitting there like I was waiting for it to get to and it was still again stupid on my part, especially it being on clay. But I was hoping for it to get to like 4-1. And then then I could get a really good hedge price, like a plus 300 or something. Because if that was plus 220 at 2 love, I was like, oh, if this gets to like 4-1 or something, he'll be
It
like,
was two
especially with it
love,
being three and
40
a half
love.
hours in. What?
It was 2 love, 40 love. Didn't matter.
That's what I'm saying. It was 2 love, 40 love. So like it wasn't like, and I was hoping it would get a little further along. Because I agree with you, that it didn't matter. I was hoping to get a little further along so I could get a good hedge price. Like if like I
Right.
figured like 4-1, you get a hedge price at plus 300. And then I was gonna hedge there. So I just waited too long to hedge. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Frustrating. I mean, for me, I'm glad Nadal hit because I hit a massive quarters parlay with Halys, Nadal, Arthur Feast, and Berrettini. That was 47-1 or something insane.
Yeah.
So I was stoked with that. It was honestly one of my best betting days of the season this year because like the amount of futures I've hit, I also hit single bets of Halys to win the quarter at plus 750. I had Feast to win the quarter at plus 450. I hit unseeded finalist. One of my favorite bets in Bastad, which hit before the semis at minus I mean, that was basically even money, but
Yeah, Bastad's amazing, man. Well,
yeah.
yeah, Bastad's amazing. I mean, the fact that there's only one seed left is incredible. I mean, it kind of made sense looking at it. I guess that the guys you really were fading, I mean, it made a lot of sense, right? Like by the time the tournament started, there were four seeds in the top
Well,
half, and three of the seeds were Roman, Rublev, and Griekspoor. So if you were fading, and the other seed was Nuno, and so like if you were gonna like, you could easily have faded the top half there, and
well, in
then with
a way, I
Nadal
was
in
kind
that
of
bottom half.
yeah, and I was kind of the fact that Nadal was on the bottom half and Rude was there too. Like I was a little worried about Rude, obviously, because he's the the clay 250 vulture, right? But
Yeah.
at the same time, like coming off a surface transition, hasn't really played
I mean,
that.
I think those bottom half seeds are honestly pretty tough. Like, given the strength of this tournament, for Ruud, Kotov, Navone, and Nori to be on that bottom half, those are four pretty tough seeds. Maybe not so much Nori, but certainly the other three. The saving graces you had Nadal on that half, where I
Right.
think he really made a good play was in the top half. Because the top half, I would never, I'm not, I mean,
Greek sports
yeah,
have fade on slow clay, especially with like wind and all the variables in Bastad, right near the water, and it's pretty slow there. And then Rublev obviously, right, is a instant fade at the moment. So
yeah.
yeah, I mean, a cash like to have that cash before the semis is quite nice.
Yeah, it's kind of funny when that cashes. Yeah,
Oh
it's been a weird. I mean, it's
yeah.
just crazy too. The non seeds that are there. So you have Nadal, obviously, but then you have Tarante and Ajdukovic, which is just incredible. Like
Yeah, I know. I know. So the semis are Nadal versus Djokovic and what Tarante.
Tarante versus Nuno Borges. Like Nuno Borges is a legitimate shot at cat. I mean, maybe. I mean, I don't know, man. Like,
I
I
mean,
mean,
we'll
it depends on
discuss it,
Nadal's
but I
fatigue
I kind
level.
of like Nuno at plus 350. I already hit it.
Yeah, it all depends on Nadal's fatigue level is the problem, right? It depends
Yeah,
on how
but the thing
like.
is he has singles and doubles and then he has to come back and play again. Like tomorrow he's probably going to win just on pure
Well,
mental
he
game,
might just
right?
withdraw from the doubles too.
I think the fact that he's playing with Casper Ruud, I feel
Oh,
like
I don't know. I don't think Casper cares that much. I don't think Casper's gonna be too upset with him if he withdraws from the doubles. Like
maybe.
this happens all the time, right? We saw it happen with like, I mean, that happens a lot, but we saw it happen with Rude and Thompson when Rude and Thompson partnered, right? In Los Cabos, whatever, was a late night long match, and Thompson was like, yeah, no doubles tomorrow. Like,
But this notion that like, oh, people are saying, oh, it's a warm-up tournament for the Olympics, right? Like that, I don't necessarily think the players think that way, right? Especially Nadal. Like Nadal at this point in his career, if he's able to compete, he's going to compete. Like,
I think it's in between. So I think what I'll say is that like, yes, it's a warm up tournament for the Olympics, in that like that's why they're playing on this instead of like Newport or a hardcourt tournament, right? But I think that it's a like it's there's a week off in between. So it's not like they need to like get out of there early to get to the Olympics. Like there's a whole week off in between. They just won't play next week.
hmm I mean, Olympics start on Saturday, so it's a little bit less than a week.
6 days is still plenty of time, right? It's not like this is a 250 leading into the Olympics
hmm
where like they have to be legitimately worried about, oh, if I go too deep, I'm only gonna have one day to go and prepare, right? Like there's
Right.
6 days to get ready. Like
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I mean, I
I
think
mean, it's one day less than like Rome before Roland Garros, right? Are people treating Rome as a warm up tournament?
no,
You
because
know,
for 99% of the players, if they win a Masters 1000 or even make a final of a Masters 1000, that's a crowning achievement in
and
their.
I'd say for 90% of the players, even if that's true of a 250, right? Like,
I would agree with that. Like if they win a 250, that's huge for them,
yeah,
right?
I mean, for anybody who's not like top 10, So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, winning an ATP tournament is a big deal. I mean, we talked about it with Demonor, right? Like if he made the Wimbledon final, that's a crowning achievement. But like now, I was even like going to go one further. Even making the Montreal final last year was an amazing. It's probably the biggest achievement of his career,
right, yeah, yeah,
right? So
and it's a big deal.
it is, it is.
Yeah,
So yeah, I don't know. I think. I guess Nadal's going to show up tomorrow, and he should beat Djokovic. I have him at plus 400 to win the title, so I'll sweat that out.
Yeah. I mean, otherwise, in terms of like really, it's been interesting in seeing and how well the non-seeded players have done. Um, Otherwise, I don't know that it's been super interesting from like a tennis perspective. I don't know. That's my take is it'll be
Um,
interesting to see who wins the title.
yeah, yeah. I mean, from a tennis perspective, I guess the most interesting player for you is Riley Opelka, right?
Well, we may as well stay on clay for a little while longer, right? There's two other clay tournaments.
Okay, all right.
We'll go
Well,
to
you
the
want to
grass
talk about your
last.
boy that you have a 28 to 1 futures on?
Yeah, we'll talk about him last.
Okay.
Um, I guess we can stay with slow clay tournaments, move over to Hamburg. A little bit more of a more kind of standard, straightforward tournament here. Impressive run by Zverev, honestly, so far to make the semis, given he barely played. He was talking pre-tournament about how like he almost pulled out like 15 minutes before his first round match. He was thinking about withdrawing, and then like his knee was okay, so he decided to play. And now he's won 3 matches. So here he's in the semis.
Didn't you take Gaston live, right? Because like Zverev couldn't move.
I didn't feel like he was moving too well during the match. So I did take a stone live at one point, and it didn't work out.
Okay. Because like I also had Zhang futures at 6 to 1, and obviously that didn't work, And I felt like a lot of people on X were on Zhang in some capacity, whether they took the 4 games or
Yeah,
uh
I mean, I threw a unit down on it. I felt I didn't post it because it wasn't like a play I was super excited about, but I did throw a unit down on it just to see
you
what would
did.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Zverev he's just a physical specimen, man. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like the guy is just like it feels like he's like indestructible physically.
He's also like he's mentally tough unless we're talking about like closing out matches against top guys. Right? That's like the one chink in his mental armor. But other than that, I think he's pretty tough mentally as well. Like he's a good he battles.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it's more to do with his physical ability, right? Like his physicality is so strong that that's almost intimidating from a mental perspective.
It's just absurd. Like he's just like he's 6'6", right? He moves like insanely well for a six. Like he might be
He's
one of
got
the best athletes in the world. Like to be 6'6" and move that well, he
yeah.
he he has the fastest first serve in the game.
Mm-hmm.
He makes the highest percentage of first serves.
Mm-hmm.
He's top 3 in aces. Either him or Fritz are second right now. I can't remember which one of them.
Because he has the best backhand by
And
far.
he's the best backhand.
I mean, his forehand is obviously not anywhere near like an Alcaraz or a Sinner right now, right? But like he has so much other stuff at his disposal.
And to be fair, like he's like if anything, he's become a better athlete since he came on the tour. His net game's gotten better. He's gotten better at moving forward. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's just like impressive. Like physically, like his game is impressive. Mentally, there's a lot to be. I mean, it's really, but again, it's just like on the tennis court, it's really just closing out. It's just really closing out mentally against top guys. That seems to be the problem. Because even guys like Medvedev have gotten into his head too. So you're right. It's not just like slams against the top guys. It's a lot of things can get in his head mentally when it comes to closing out matches, or even different styles of play can get in his head. Where
I'm
we
just
saw that
impressed at the physical part. And it feels like he's also solved the diabetes problem. Like I don't feel like that's coming
that's
up.
not a problem. No, it's actually really cool to see because it's pretty inspirational to see how that's like not an issue.
Yeah,
Like
it
what's
kind
an
of goes
issue for
unnoticed, right? Like I feel like when it's not an issue and he doesn't have those diabetes duds, right? Like
we don't talk about it. Yeah,
people talk about it, but when he's just like playing 5 set match after 5 set match, 3 set match after 3 set match with
and
a
week
knee
after
issue,
week,
huh?
week after week.
Week after week after week, just playing, just it's incredible. But people don't talk about it then, right? Like why?
Yeah.
Why not? Like, it's not like diabetes type 1 goes away, right?
Yeah,
Like, you live with that condition. So the fact that he's managed it, I completely agree with you. Like, it has to go noticed. Like, it's inspirational. Um, so I just marvel at how much of a physical beast he is. Like, it feels like the guy's indestructible. Like, I
yeah,
feel like he could play best of 7 sets and he'd be fine,
yeah.
right?
I agree.
Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. So, but that
Uh,
being said, like shot for shot, I think Sinner and Alcaraz are way better, right? And I feel like if Sinner played Zverev right now on a clay court, who would you give the edge to in best of 5?
Zverev easily in a best of five on a clay court. Yeah,
Right.
just the physicality. On a best in a best of three, it's a little closer. But even then, physicality might come into play, right? With those two guys, like
Hmm.
it's just that then Zverev has a. I mean, you're right. Like the forehand edge. The forehand is the biggest, the most commonly used weapon in tennis, right? Like, and Sinner's forehand is well above Zverev's.
Right.
Right, like guys run around backhands to hit forehands. Guys don't really run around forehands to hit backhands. So
Because
like,
tennis wise, between those two guys, I still think Sinner is better, right?
I would agree, especially especially his ability like off the like because the thing with Zverev is like his backhand's amazing. His backhand's the best backhand on the tour, but Sinner's ability to hit off both wings defensively might actually be better than Zverev's. You
Hmm.
know, like Zverev, if it's too high, if it's not in his strike zone, like if it's too high, sometimes he makes mistakes. If it's too low, that tends to be a problem for that backhand. Like it's really a little bit, it still is a little bit one dimensional. Honestly, this whole game is a little bit like it's a little bit limited. It's a little bit limited dimensionally. Like he really does struggle with low balls, struggles with wind. Like struggle like there's a lot of. It's not perfectly clean. It still is amazing. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, but it's not perfectly clean. Um,
Yeah, that's probably the one knock on Zverev is like there are a lot of things that can irk him, right?
yeah,
Kind of like take him off in some way, right? Whether it's a bad
yep.
ball, whether it's elements like wind, whether it's kind of like
Low bounces,
low bounces or like Medvedev kind of getting in his head, right? Like there are a lot
or
of
just having to close out a big match against a top player. Yeah, there's a lot of different. That I think that's the yeah.
yeah, right. Whereas
Um,
Alcaraz and Sinner are just like unfazed from anything, right? Like they just
I
don't,
agree. Yeah, yeah, and I think that's an area where Sinner's made great improvements.
yeah.
Zhang makes an. I want to call out Zhang making another quarterfinal, man. Even though he lost to Zverev today pretty easily, like I don't know, man. That guy. He's definitely made improvements. Zhizhen Zhang.
Yes.
Like. I'm not saying he's become a top 20 player on clay, but I'm saying like I've been impressed with him over the past 6 months. Like I think I think he made only 6 unforced errors in one of the matches I saw, which on clay is a pretty good number, especially for him.
Yeah, and he thoroughly outplayed Kaboli, where I felt like a lot of people were on Kaboli there.
Yeah.
So
Like I think he's starting to clear past a little bit past that dogger pass. I'm not saying he's all the way out of it yet, because he's definitely but like I think he's starting to clear his way out of that
I think
category.
Kaboli is entering that though, right? Like
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
Kaboli, but I feel like those guys are very similar, and that match was kind of a barometer of like who's better at the moment, and like Zhang clearly passed the test.
like I said, I think Shang's gotten a little I think he's gotten better at being disciplined tactics, whatever you want to call it. Like
Yeah. Because he hits a good ball off both wings, right? So
yeah,
it's about the discipline with him.
yep,
But you can also see how far he is away, right? Like today he got just romped by Zverev. So
yeah.
yeah. We gotta talk about Arthur Fils in Hamburg. I have him I tailed the Bet Rivers guy, so I bet him to win the title also at 18 to 1. I cashed the quarters future. Today was just like a pathetic. pathetic retirement from Holger Rune. Like we gotta shit talk him a little bit. I mean, it happens so often. Like, can you just lose? You already lost 10 fucking games in the match. Like, can you just lose two more and just lose with some dignity? Like, you really have to do this? Not just to the betters. Like, I don't. I'm not talking about our bets that pushed them or whatever. But like, come on, this is pathetic.
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of an ethos in tennis, I feel like, that says that, you know, like, you shouldn't retire when you're losing at the very end. So, yeah, I mean, Rune's got, he's had in the past 18 months, he's had 4 retirements down a set. Yeah, well, he's had 4 retirements when down a set and a break. I think 3 of them were down a set and 2 breaks.
And how many times did he play UTS after?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, he's not he's gonna miss Olympics. Like, I'm sure he'll be out. He'll be at
No,
the
he's
Olympics.
not
Like,
hurt at all. I don't think he's hurt. Because if he was hurt, they would have told him just don't play this match.
I think it's like he's slightly hurt, and he's like, I'll give it a go, and then like if it's not like,
Then if you can't give it a go, then stop after like 4 games or 5 games.
well, that's what I hate about it. I hate the like, oh, I'm just not gonna like, well, it's hopeless now, so I'm just not gonna finish it out. You know what I mean? Because like that's what it is. Like he plays until it's hopeless, and then like once it's hopeless, he's like, oh, you know what? Like maybe not. Like maybe I'll just not,
Right.
not finish this one out. Like yeah,
Ugh.
it's weak.
It's weak. It's weak. Exactly. It's weak.
It's just like, again, I feel like there's an ethos in the game that you play that out, like. But again, I don't think Rune cares much about that.
I mean, he considers himself part of the big three. Did you hear Tsitsipas saying his biggest rival was
And
Alcaraz?
Alcaraz, yeah. I
Like, get
mean,
out of here.
you also got to wonder how much this is just marketing too. You know what I mean? Like,
True. That is true.
and I
But
feel like Rune and Tsitsipas are 2 guys who would be like, I don't know. If there's players who like are marketing themselves, I feel like those guys are like, and they're good at it. I mean, like they get considered as
they're good
top
at it.
players, when they're really not. Like,
They really
I mean,
aren't.
I guess Tsitsipas still in the top 10. Like Rune's barely in the top 20 at this point. And some of that's injury. He doesn't have much to defend second half of the year. That will go up.
Yeah,
But like he's
Rublev
considered.
is heading in that direction.
That's a completely different story though, right? Like that's a completely different story. But like, I mean, Tsitsipas right now is ranked 12th. Rune is 17th. I don't I don't consider either of those guys top 10 players right now.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
And they market themselves like they are, and they're marketed within the game like they are. Like they're certainly both. I mean, like Alex de Minaur is ranked 6th in the world, and I
Yeah, he
still feel like
doesn't,
nobody
but he doesn't
cares.
care. He doesn't like he just lets his tennis do the talking.
He really
Right.
doesn't say much at all. I mean,
No,
it's amazing. He even has like the British girlfriend. Like you would think, like and he still doesn't get much hype.
he's just a low key guy and he just lets his tennis do the talking, right? Like, and he lets the junkies kind of like praise it. I mean, he doesn't even care if the junkies praise him or not, right? Like, he just
Yeah, yeah. I
goes
don't
about.
think Alex de Minaur is watching this podcast. I don't think him and Katie are sitting here watching the Game Bet Match podcast, the GVM
Hey,
podcast.
hey, we do have a fan, right? Like
We have at least one fan who's actually a human being that actually exists in a human form. Yes.
in
It was not
Newport.
Alex de Minaur, and it was not Katie Bolter.
Well, why don't you tell the story? Because this is epic.
Well, we went to Newport, right? We went to Newport on Monday. We were hanging out, watching the match in the outer court, which was fantastic. That was a great experience watching the outer court at Newport. And this guy came up and he said, like, are you guys the podcasters? And then we proceeded to talk tennis for like 45 minutes. I think his name was. Oh, I feel so bad now.
Oh
I know
yeah,
what his name was.
I know. Well, shout out to you.
I want to say it was Tristan, but I could be wrong. But anyway, shout out. I did remember his name, and now I'm just choking because it's I have to remember
Yeah,
on the
there's a little
podcast.
pressure here, but
Yeah, this is just me choking up 2 breaks in like the final set or something. It's not that I
you're
actually
pulling a
don't.
Navone.
Well, I'm pulling a Navone. Yeah, I'm definitely pulling a Navone here. I feel bad about this. But yeah.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
remember he's from Boston. He was a guy from Boston. I remember a lot of stuff about this guy. I could identify his face. Like I just don't.
yeah, I understand like people, oh, you do a tennis or like, I follow you on Twitter or whatever, but like he recognized our faces.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That was
Pretty
pretty
cool.
cool. That was pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
So
Yeah. So props, man. Props, because
props. Yeah,
appreciate the in person call out and
definitely.
definitely
But
didn't respond
that
online.
was quite alarming. I was like, huh? Huh? Who are you?
Hey, it was pretty cool.
It was
I'll
cool. It
take
was
it.
cool. It
I'll
was
take it.
mad cool. Yeah. I pinch myself that we have like almost 1,800 followers. Like it's crazy.
And people actually do watch this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. It is good.
So, yeah.
What else happened?
Otherwise, I mean, Baez makes another 250 semi, which I don't know that I really care. Like beating
It's a
Darderi.
500.
What? Oh, it's a 500.
500.
Yeah, it's a European 500. This is actually a little bit of a step up. But I
But
still feel like he needs to
we
beat
only
somebody
talked
better.
about Holger Rune's pathetic retirement, but we got to mention Arthur Feast. Like I feel like he's playing a lot better. Like I
True.
feel
Yeah,
like
yeah, we can go back to fees. I mean,
he's playing at the level that he was when he won Lyon last year. He
yeah.
did make fourth round at Wimbledon. Like I think that built his confidence and like, making that third set really like coming back from the brink against Demon to win that third set. Like I think he's building something, right? I'm not saying it's top 10 worthy, which I think I still owe you a dinner about from, by the way, because he's not going to make top 10 by the end of the year. Like that's, unless he like wins the US Open,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
It's yeah.
But I like what I'm seeing from him. Uh,
Yeah. I agree. I agree. I mean,
I think
he is
he's
ranked in the top 30 now. He's ranked in the top 30, probably is looking at a seed for the US Open. I don't remember how much he has to defend. I doubt he has much to defend in the summer. I don't remember him doing too well last summer on the hard court swing.
one thing about Feast though, like, is that he's a great athlete. Like I feel like he's a top 5 or 10 athlete on the tour.
Yeah.
Right? So if he can tone down the errors, if he can like play some more defense, like I feel like one of his biggest issues is that he's like overly aggressive,
I agree.
you
I
know?
agree.
And like
Yeah.
if you can like tone it down and just like kind of rely on your defense to keep you in points and then wait for the right ball to attack, like I think that that's going to go a long way. I think he also needs to generate like or develop a backhand slice. I feel like he hits out too much on it, like when he's in bad positions.
I mean,
Like
I think that all makes sense. I think also he could develop maybe the serve a little more.
serve, yep. Serve it for a guy that's like 6'3", built like him, like he should have like a Songa serve.
Right. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of room for improvement there. I mean, it's gonna be a lot for him to honestly ever make the top 10. Like I think you see how hard it is to make the top 10.
Hard.
Um, but I think top 20 is certainly reasonable.
Yeah, I think he still has
I think
top.
top 10 is reasonable also as well. I think top 10 is a reasonable goal for him. I'm just saying, like, I think he'll probably get there at some point for some period. I just don't know that it'll be a top 10 mainstay. Like, again, and then that's more speaking to how hard it is to make the top 10. Like,
But like there is some window of opportunity. Like right now is like Rublev is on his way out, right? So there's a
but for
guy
how
that's
long, right? Like I mean, I guess I mean that gets to Rublev, and like I kind of intentionally avoided Rublev just because I feel like we talked about him on a lot of pods. He did lose in the first round against Toronto. I just didn't know we needed to. Well, we can discuss him for a couple minutes if you want. If you want to transition there, but I feel like it's just. I just feel like he's just in a rut, and we'll see when he gets out of the rut. But I mean, do you think he'll like? I think he'll be out of it by the end of the year and back to like patched up and back to
I
normal.
think
I don't
he's
know.
gonna be out of the top 20 by the end of Australian Open next year. Like
So
that's
you think this is done? You think he's cooked?
I think it's pretty yeah, it's pretty bad. It's kind of like it feels almost like an FAA decline to me. Like I think he's gonna have some success at some point again, but like I think that this is a prolonged it's gonna be a prolonged decline. Like I see so many issues in his game. Like I feel like he's more lost coming forward now than ever before. Um I feel like because he knows that he's so lost coming forward, he just goes way too big from the baseline. And he doesn't
Yeah.
really like know how to tone it down. Like it's weird because he was so successful last year and it doesn't feel like he was that much better coming forward, but I felt like he came forward slightly like in better times or like in, better moments. And he was more precise off the ground, I would say. Right? So if he loses
Yeah,
a
I
little
just think
bit of
I
that
mean I don't
precision,
that's why it's interesting to get your take. Like I don't really I just think he's lost mentally, and I like but like
yeah,
that
you're
can
probably
come
right.
back. You know what I mean? Like that like I don't like and that's why but like maybe it doesn't. I feel like that's why it's a really interesting discussion is because like um
But you need wins to build confidence, right? So if you're really struggling from a mental perspective, you need to generate some wins. And if you're
that
losing,
goes the other way too, right? You generate a couple wins and then the confidence comes back, right? Like it kind of works both ways.
yeah, but it didn't really feel like Madrid did that.
No, but it's odd that it didn't, right? Like you wouldn't think we necessarily need to take that much from to get it back.
That Madrid tournament, honestly, was one of the weirdest tournaments I think like I can remember.
For sure, for sure. It was a very weird tournament. But he did win a Masters 1000 with a strong field. And it wasn't like FAA where he like got three walkovers, or three walkovers slash retirements. Like, like he did play, I think, every match, or at least every match except one. Like,
But losing to Comasana and Tarante, in back-to-back matches, like
no, that's not good. Completely agree. I mean, like he looks like I also feel like it's like I can't think of a tennis player that it looks like has lost it like this, where they've lost it just mentally and had this kind of issue, where like we were saying like they he like has lost it mentally and gone. Like I feel like FAA it's a different situation. I feel like FAA's lost something physically as well.
okay.
Like I still feel like that. I still feel like he's just not exploding into the ball the same way. Like it's just not. I don't know.
I think his inability to move forward and win points at the net is manifesting itself bigger now. Like I feel like if you don't have like more and more as the game evolves, I think if you don't have that ability, it's going to be very problematic in men's tennis. I
Because
think that
guys are just so good defensively. I hear you. I
yeah,
hear you. I think it's a
the
it's
game
like that's
constantly
why.
improves, right? So like
Yeah.
year after year, you don't realize how quickly the game evolves, and that's such a big tool that you need. And it's not like Sinner, right? Where he like was reluctant, but he's like able to do it. Like Rublev is just unable to do it. Like he's just not nimble and good enough up there, right?
I think he's just not very good actually at the volleys. Like he
Right.
tries to go with the drive
Exactly.
volley, which isn't really like the way you're supposed to
Yep.
hit a volley, and like like. But yeah, but I think enough on him just because we talk about him on every single podcast.
We do.
Um, Baez makes a semi of a 500. I think that's a step up for him. I know, like you look at the opponents, Lajovic and Darderi and Kopfer. I mean, I guess three real ATP level opponents. So like it's still in between. I mean, you'd still like to see him. Like you'd really like to see him beat Zverev in a final. That would be impressive. But
Right. I want to see a win like that. Exactly. Can you beat can you beat someone like better than Kopfer and Darderi, right? Like
yeah,
how about a top 10 win in the big spot? Like I want to
yeah,
see that. That we've been saying about this with Bias for the last what 2 years now, as he's been
yeah. You're right, and
a
I
lot of
guess
these
like
smaller
it's
events.
also a weird. It's a weird part of the calendar in that like
I
It
don't
sucks
care when
because
it is with Baez. Like just do it at any point. You know,
well,
beat
I was going a different route with it. I was just saying like this is a weird fight. Like it sucks to see this event just keep getting downgraded so much because I feel like it's gone from like 1,000
hmm
to like not even like a meaningful 500 now. It's a 500 that like is kind of like like it's you know what I mean like I don't know like of the 500s I think of like Rotterdam as being like a really good 500. Like Rotterdam like a really tough really tough 500 to do well in.
or Washington D.C. or something like that.
Washington usually not this year, but Washington really tough 500. Like if you can win Washington, that's a real feather in the
Barcelona,
cap. Barcelona, real tough 500.
right? Vienna, Basel, like those are legit 500s, right?
Yeah, I think Vienna and Basel. Like for me, once you get to that indoor hard part of the season, it gets a little weird, especially because then I think they get played simultaneously, or they've been played
Queens and
simultaneously in the
Halle are
past.
legit 500s, right? Those are really good.
Yeah, I think as more because pretty much everybody plays one or the other. Yeah, yeah. But even then, maybe there's three tiers. Like I would put Rotterdam and I put it like Rotterdam, Barcelona in their own tier there, where I feel like they're even
Yeah,
stronger.
this is like on the tier with Rio, right?
It's gotten to that, especially with four
I know.
tournaments this week, and like some guys go ahead and play the grass, and it's like weird, like it's like weirdly shoved in this like
Yeah.
weird part of the calendar with like 250s and like
But
after
with
Wimbledon.
with Baez though, like you know, after he won Rio, I was like, can he do it in Barcelona, Madrid, or Rome? And he failed the test miserably, right? So
Right.
now, like he's downgraded. Okay, I'll take it in the July clay court swing, but I want to see a win versus the likes of a Zverev, right?
Yeah.
In this spot, and is that who he plays in the semis?
No, he plays Feast.
Okay, feast. All right, let's see that this is like, the quiz.
That would be good. I mean, Feast is like
Yeah.
it's like part A of the quiz, but yeah,
I mean,
but
my
yeah.
bet is that he fails the quiz, but okay, like if you beat feast, you pass the quiz. You get an A on the quiz, right? If you beat Zverev in the final, you get an A on the test. All
All
right.
right. All right. So
Right.
uh
What's that?
then there would be the final.
Sorry.
Fees is the midterm,
Okay.
and Zverev would be the final.
Okay. I like it. I like it. High
Um,
school nerds.
yeah. And then the fourth guy, Pedro Martinez, beat Cerundolo today. Good win for him. I mean, he's just a good clay court player, Martinez, man. Like
Yes. I was impressed with Dolo after who did he beat easily? I mean
well, he
he beat
steamrolled
Martyr.
Martyr.
Yeah, Martyr is terrible anyway. But like I don't know, I felt like Dolo this was a good spot for Dolo, and apparently it was. You know. I like the draw for him. Like I feel like his top level on clay is quite high, and he can beat top guys on clay.
He can,
But
yeah,
the
yeah,
problem is he has these occasional just like let ups, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
funny because
disappointing loss, but
you
honestly, I think Martinez. You gotta go start giving Martinez some credit too, because he beat Rude this year, right? He's got to win over Rude, now win over Cerundolo on clay. Like, it's tough because he's such a clay specialist. Like, he's useless
yeah,
on other surfaces, but like,
right.
he's like, I don't really understand. Like, I've even watched him play a few times, and it's like he's like the least memorable guy ever. I think he's like just another Spanish clay quarter. Like,
Didn't you bet Martinez today?
I did. I ended up with one unit on it on the money on the. I actually ended up with one unit on him to win a set, so I made a little money on it. It was
Then
okay.
Klaus Boulegard talked you off of it because he was
Well, he
injured.
taught me off of the. I originally had it as a 3 unit play, 2 units on the to win a set and a unit on the money line, and Klaus Fulgaard talked me off of the money line and and I backed down to 1 unit to win a
Come on,
set.
Klaus, you're one of our first fans.
No. He had good reasoning. Like he had good reasoning.
Well, at least you still profited, which is good. It's always
It's
good.
weird. You usually don't see like a line move that much. I mean, sometimes you see lines move for injury, but I feel like that was like for yeah. And then and then Klaus brought up the point that he did get bageled by Hugo Blanchett and 175 in the third. And I was like, ooh, like if that happened and the trainer went to see him, that might not be good. Like
Yeah, I placed a bet Dola to win the title at plus 500 before quarterfinals. But I mean it was also a hedge on my fees pick.
Yeah.
I have fees at 18 to 1. So
Yeah, I've been really hesitant on this tournament just because honestly my opinion was that like Zverev was like plus 150, I think, before the rest of round of 16. And my feeling on it all week has been like, if Zverev's healthy, he should win this title.
thing is he's not healthy and he's still gonna win the title.
Well, right, and that's the thing, right? Like, yeah, and so
Crazy.
like, but like, I don't want to bet on like plus 150 or plus, I think it was like plus 170 or something that I found somewhere. But like at plus 170, if I don't trust that he's fully healthy, man, I don't want to bet him to bet three guys if he's not fully healthy. But then like, I feel like when there's like a massive, at least for me, like when you've got a massive favorite like that, like plus 200 or shorter, like unless I'm fading them,
Hmm.
it's really hard for me to back anybody else.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, these guys at 5 to 1 to 10 to 1, unless I'm taking like for me in those situations, either I'm fading the top guy or I'm backing a super long shot. It's like one or the other, not but there's no in between because like all those guys between like 5 and 10 to 1, like Feast, like starting to get to those odds between like 15 and 21 is where I would start thinking about it. So I don't think your bet was a bad bet at all. Because I think that's like where you start considering it. But like it just becomes like, okay, if you got this massive problem in the finals.
Yeah. The only problem is like I mean I think Feast has a 20 to 25% chance of beating Zverev in the final, right? Like
And
it's
that's
not
probably what the line's
likely.
gonna be, is the problem.
Exactly. And I was hoping Dolo could take him out, right? Like the fact
Yeah.
that Zverev is playing Pedro Martinez, like it just makes that futures value way less, you know?
And the problem is like if it gets to the finals at minus 400, like how do you even hedge that?
I know. Because like
Unless
Dolo,
you like do some kind
if
of
Dolo
creative
played
hedge, like
Zverev in the semis, like he would be live,
right,
whereas
right,
Martinez isn't.
right. Yeah. Um,
Yep.
yeah. So I think that's it for Hamburg. Over to Gstaad. Um, so Quentin Halys, man, picking
Let's
it back up.
go. Plus
Yeah.
750. Did you
Yeah.
see one of the shots of the year today? We gotta give a shout out to Quentin Halys, where he fell down. He like he was on his butt and he hit this like forehand while he was on the ground for basically a winner. I mean, it was a really good forehand. I mean, I think it's a shot of the year. It was crazy. You have to see it.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look. But it's crazy. I mean, to think he was down a set in qualifiers,
Yep.
like, and came back, and now is, in the semis. Incredible run. Granted, he beat Gasquet, Lucas Klein, and Gustavo Haide to get there, so not the strongest competition, but still a really good to see him back and playing tennis, and
That was part of my handicap because I thought he
I mean,
was
it was a really weak
it
quarter.
was a
The
week.
draw was amazing. It was a really weak quarter. I don't blame you for it. It was a really weak quarter. Like, yeah, I mean, Humbert is completely out of form right now, and that's a common thing for Ugo Humbert. This is like the second or third time in his career where he's just dipped in like,
Yep.
like he goes from being like a top 20, top 15 player to being like not even top 50 level. It's really weird. I don't really understand it.
It's weird, but I mean, he had a decent run at
He
Wimbledon.
could be hurt. I know at one point his knee was hurt.
I don't think he's hurt. I mean, he had a good run in Wimbledon. He made the fourth round.
Yeah, I
Lost to
guess.
Alcaraz in four sets. So it's like
And he
it's
actually played decent at Wimbledon. You're right. But it's just weird how he like
he has like good weeks and bad weeks, and it's just like hard to predict. Like
but I don't know. I feel like it's more of I feel like it's more like he just has like prolonged dips in levels. So like, if you look at his career ranking, like he went from being what? Like I mean, he actually cracked the top 30 in the world in 21 and then somehow ended up going all the way down to outside the top 100
Mhm.
within a year. Like that's pretty hard to do,
And then like last year,
especially without at not that advanced of an age. He actually ended up outside the top 150. And then he came back, a year later, year and a half later, cracked the top 20, and now he doesn't even look like he's the top 50 player right now.
Yeah, I mean, last year he had a fantastic year, right? Like he won those two clay 175s, I believe.
Yeah, and that kind of spurred him on. He had a really good second half, right? Really good
Yep.
run
And
on
then he
the
continued it into like a decent Australian Open, and then didn't he win Dubai?
Did he win Dubai? He did win Dubai, yeah, which is a strong tournament. Like
Strong
one
tournament.
Marseille, one Marseille, one Dubai.
Like that's a
Yeah,
strong February. That's a really strong
yeah.
February. So
He won Mets at the end of the year last year. And I feel like he does do better. I feel like he does. I don't know. We've had this debate. I feel like he does play better when he's at home. But
I think it's more the conditions. Like I think he needs like quick,
quick indoor hard courts. Yeah, you might be right.
not
I think
necessarily.
you're actually more right. I think you're right. I think it's probably a combination of both.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does seem to do really well on the quick French indoor hard courts.
But I don't like rule it out that he's gonna have a good indoor season. You know, like if he stays healthy, like I think he's live and
But I
dangerous.
wouldn't rule it in either. Like I don't like. I think it
Hard,
could
yeah.
go
I have
either
to
way.
see it. I have to see it to believe it. You know.
Yeah, he's just a really interesting player because it's not.
Yep.
This has happened before.
But like he
Um,
was the only like decent player in that section, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's look when you have four tournaments in a week, especially the week after a slam when not and most of the top guys aren't playing to start with. Like it just the field thins out really quick.
mhm. So at plus 750 for Halys, like who's gonna play up at altitude, who had a good Wimbledon himself. Like I think that I mean it cashed, so it obviously was a
No,
good
I don't. I mean, look, you look at the rest of that field, and like, yeah, besides Bear, like, is anybody else really better than him on altitude clay? Like, you got Gustavo Heidi, Napolitano, Halys, or the other guys besides Bear were Heidi, Napolitano, Gasquet, Wawrinka, and Klein. Like, were any of those guys better than?
oh.
No, I mean, Wawrinka's done. Wawrinka's cooked. Klein is up and down on any given day, and that was actually a pretty good match. It went three sets.
He was up a break in the third, and
Yeah,
line just kind of completely fell apart after he was
which
up.
can happen, right? Like he's like
Very erratic, yeah.
yeah, he's very yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think it was a smart bet. Just given the draw and given Humbert's form, you kind of yeah, that was the right move to fade somebody there or to fade Humbert there and pick somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Struff looks really tough here, man. I placed a bet for the winner of Struff and Etch to win the tournament at plus 275
Me too. I have the
for the
two.
quarters.
I have it too. I think
Yeah.
I have 2 units on that actually.
Yeah, I think that was I mean that is yeah, I
Struff
like
plays
Struff here a
Halys,
lot.
right? And then the top half you got Berrettini and Tsitsipas.
Yeah, I mean I think it's honestly I think it's kind of I actually think Struff should probably be I wonder what he is. He probably should be the favorite to win the tournament at this point just because like Tsitsipas and Berrettini I think is pretty close to a coin flip in my eyes. You may
I
disagree.
actually think Berrettini has the edge. Like I think that's a matchup that's gonna trouble Tsitsipas.
All right, we'll talk about it more because I'm sure we'll get into the
Yeah,
preview.
we
But
will.
yeah,
But I think this is a nightmare field for Tsitsipas. Like to have three guys who hit big from the baseline who can attack that backhand. That's not
yeah. I
what's
mean, it's amazing actually. Even if he plays Halys, like even if by some miracle Halys beats, well, it's just not even a miracle actually. Halys could beat Struff, but even if Halys does beat Struff, I don't think it's like 50% likely. I'm just saying I think like game like style wise, Halys can beat a lot of guys. Um, Even if by some chance he plays Halys in the final, it's not a great matchup for him. I agree with you. I agree with you. I think it's
Yeah, I mean the only thing is that Hollies can't really move, you know. But we saw with Hamad, like I think Halys, a good Halys is very similar to Hamad Medvedev. They're very
yeah,
similar players, right?
I would agree.
So, and we saw that Hamad had success. He just couldn't win a fucking big point. It
Yeah,
was one of the
yeah.
most frustrating caps of the year because I had Hamad money line and the plus three,
Oof,
and it's
oof,
like it's just
oof,
brutal. It's just
oof.
brutal.
Ugh,
It's
yeah.
just
Ugh.
it was just terrible. But
That was as brutal as Aliassime beating Hoffman.
those were the two worst matches of the year.
They were,
Uh
yeah. I mean, just
of the
watching
week.
Hoffman just choke away that multiple times. Hoffman choked away that set a solid like 3 times. Like it was pretty frustrating.
It was.
Um,
But
but
yeah,
yeah,
I think this is it's gonna be really tough for Tsitsipas to win this title, and I think he's a fade. If you want to fade him like in the individual matches or fade him in the futures market, I think either way is a decent look because like all these guys, especially at altitude, they serve big, they can attack that backhand.
yeah. I've already gotten out right on Berrettini at 5-1 as well. So
Me too.
I agree with you.
I
So
have
basically, I
in
did that,
hands.
right? I basically that's what I did after the first round. Is I basically faded. I basically faded the fourth quarter and faded Tsitsipas.
Right. Right. It's weird to me why Tsitsipas would play this event
Oh,
and
it's
not
not to me.
Bastad.
I don't think Tsitsipas chooses events based on tennis. I think he chooses based on like where he wants to go, and like what's gonna be the most fun,
Yeah, I guess this is Gstaad is good for his photography,
right? Like
right?
it's probably the best city to go to. Like if I had to choose between going to Bastad, Hamburg, and Gstaad, I'd probably go to Gstaad.
Hamburg is terrible, no doubt. Bastad, I mean, it's
Yeah,
near the water and stuff, but like I guess you could go to better places near the water, right?
yeah, you go to Umag or something like.
Exactly. So yeah, I guess Gstaad, you got mountains. Paula
Yeah,
probably wants to go there. Yeah. But for his tennis, it's like the worst,
yeah. But
right?
we've
I
seen this
mean,
before, right? He went to Mallorca for whatever reason, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't like, yeah, like I said, I don't. I think like his scheduling's been weird for a long time.
Yeah.
And even the weeks he plays versus weeks he doesn't, I don't know. I think there's I also wonder how much of it is based purely on appearance fees, right? Because he's mentioned like having to play before even when he's been injured, and what I mean, like I don't know. I think that yeah,
Yeah, he does some weird stuff. I mean, yeah.
yeah.
So that's Gstaad.
All right, on to Newport because that's
Yes.
the club, yeah. And my boy,
Opelka.
my futures pick, my 28-1. It's the most embarrassing futures pick ever because like Opelka, like watching him play and having an outright pick on him is just like, uh and he's
We were
actually like he played a little bit better against Mackey, but like watching his return games is like, oh man, like he just doesn't care half the return games.
we were
Like,
there for the Lestien Opelka first round match, right? Like
yeah,
I thought the first two sets was one of the worst first sets of tennis I think I've ever seen. Like
yeah,
it was atrocious. Like I thought the match was fixed in some capacity. Like it was
yeah,
that bad. And like Opelka doesn't give you any fist pumps. He gives you nothing, right? In
yeah,
terms of an energy perspective. And then, like it was nice to hear his interview, right? Because like we could see what he was going through these last 2 years. He was complaining about his bad doctors.
yeah. It's funny because like actually like he's got a little bit of personality.
He does. He
He just
does.
doesn't show it on the court.
No, he doesn't. Did he give any fist pumps the last like two matches? I think you've watched him more closely.
I think he might have when he won the matches. He gives a little more, but yeah, he's very low energy during the matches. I was excited to see that he was complaining a lot about the court.
He was? Okay. I want to see anything. Negative energy is fine. Like I just want to see anything from the guy.
Yeah,
Like
like
just give me something.
he was calling the so I'd never heard this term before because I don't golf, but he was calling it a goat track, which apparently is a poorly maintained golf course.
That's funny.
Which, as fun of an event as it was to attend, he's not entirely wrong. Like
No,
it's not like it's not Newport's not the best tennis event of the year.
no. It certainly is.
Like
Yeah.
the outer court is also. I mean, the outer court is like comical. Like I like it as a junkie, but I don't think I've ever seen a tournament with like an outer court that doesn't have seating. Like
And why is there was a scoreboard on one side but not the other side?
yeah, so we're
Right? So
watching from the one
we were on the
side.
phone keeping track of the score.
Yeah. Yeah, or you had to listen to the umpire to hear the score. Or they
I
also
felt
had the
that
court.
the court was a little bit on a slant too. I don't know if you
And the
felt
courts
that
were
way.
right next to each other. So like literally like a couple times the balls like rolled onto the other court.
They had to
Like
call let. Yeah.
I don't know if I didn't see any lets called personally, but I definitely saw like in between points where they got lucky, like where they could have had to call a let, but they got lucky because the ball rolled on the court like in between points. But yeah, it was like yeah, it
It's funny.
and then it's funny because like the stadium is so massive. Like for not having that many stands, like it looks like it could be like a football stadium. Like it's so wide. Like
It
you could
is.
easily
It's
fit two courts there. It's just like I mean, I don't know. Maybe it feels like they use it as something else. Like what else is like a circular patch of grass like that? Like a cricket field? Like I mean, it seriously looks like it's like
it
because
is
like
so
it's
wide.
comically big,
It
like
is.
comically wide. It's just yeah,
I understand if they make the bait like it long, right? Because then they have more room to run from the back, right? But it's just wide. You can hit
yeah.
the most insane around the net post shot, right? At
Well, I
Newport.
mean, it's no, it's like there's got to be like what 30 yards there. Like
Yeah,
it's
on
like
both sides.
it's
Crazy.
like not even reasonable. You know what I mean? Like or not even like it. You know, like yeah, it's
So as poorly as it looks on TV, it looks just as bad live.
yeah, yeah,
But I just can't believe your Opelka futures are still in play. Like that's crazy. And I faded him hard against McDonald because I was like, this guy, he has to play back-to-back matches, and like movement gap is massive. But credit to him, he got through it. Like
yeah.
I don't think, despite the low energy, I don't think he's the mentally weakest guy. Like I actually think he's
No,
actually
I agree with that. And the other thing is like, look, like the serve is there. He's winning 88% of his first serve points this week through 3 matches.
yeah.
Like he can serve the ball.
He can. It was really only bad this tournament in the first set against Lestien, right? That was the only, or the,
And it
yeah,
was bad.
and he
The
won that
first
set
set
6-2. He won that set 6-2, right?
Yeah, the first set was yeah. I mean, the first set against Lestien, he was like not serving more than like 100 to 110 miles an hour, and it wasn't even wide serves, like middle serves. It just looked like he was like rusty or whatever. But yeah, ever since then, the serve is back, man. I mean, so like you know,
Yeah.
and it's and like his return game, he's I don't say it's about very many players. I don't think it's true about very many players, but it seems like he tanks a lot of return games. Like if he goes down 15 love or especially 30 love, he just tanks the game.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think it's probably a good thing that he had a day off, right? Like, so now, who does he play in the semis?
Mickelson,
Ooh,
I think that's gonna be a test.
that is because, like, I think we could talk about Michelson. Like, I mean, you bring up the point about the college all the time, but the guy is an excellent tennis player. He's just not a good athlete.
Yeah, yeah,
And I am amazed at how good his hands are. I think he has some incredible hands.
I would agree with that. Yeah, for sure.
Like, and he just has a knack for, like, I think he's a high tennis IQ guy, and he like knows where to put the ball in uncomfortable positions. Like, he's very good at that. It's just
Yeah,
he has a very limited ceiling because of his lack of athleticism. Like, I think the highest he can go is probably top 40, right? Just because he's so limited from a movement perspective, you know?
yeah, yeah.
So,
It's a weird thing with him because I agree. He's just and it's not even it's movement. It's also explosion.
right,
Right?
but
He
he's
just doesn't
pretty
like.
he's pretty smooth though.
Yeah, he's got good shots. Yeah, like he's got good shots. He's got good hands. Like
Yeah,
it's just yeah. No athleticism and no explosion. Like
right. Yeah, it's strange. It's strange, but
But like he's like able to be aggressive still. Like you know what I mean? Like he makes some good shots and stuff despite not having like the explosion, the power, the movement. So it's a very fascinating player to watch, man.
and he's a good competitor.
He's a very good competitor. Gives a lot of energy too. Almost to a level where it's annoying. He has a lot of like yelling and stuff. Like yeah, I don't know. You hear him, you know.
Yeah, but he does, but like it's weird when that kind of energy comes from a player that's not like running all over the place, right?
It is, yeah. Yeah, he'll do very little and then give a come on. It is pretty
Like with
funny.
Alcaraz, it's fine, right? Like it makes sense, but with Michelson, it doesn't. But
Yeah. I mean, other guys in that event, another early round loss for Manarino, man. It looks
yeah,
like the end is nigh.
yep.
Like it's and that was not, I mean, look, man, he should be able to beat he should be able to beat Opelka. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Opelka served big, but and it's a tough matchup. Manarino doesn't like big servers, but not good for him. Anything else to discuss? Honestly, it's a pretty weak field. It's a pretty
It
challengery
is.
field.
It is.
Um,
Yeah, Jerome is in the semis, right? He beat Alex Bolt, who had a decent
I
run.
mean, Jerome should win this tournament. He really should win it. He's like by far
Michelson
the best
is a slight favorite right now.
on the futures over your own.
I think Michelson is plus 200. Giron is like plus 230 or plus 225.
Wow. Okay.
So, I
That
mean,
surprises me quite a
I mean,
bit.
if you think so, Giron is probably worth a hit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. Like, I think Giron's poor performance against Pair. Giron was complaining quite a bit about the balls. So they also use like the heavy balls here, like the heavy. I think it's might be Wilson, but they use I think it might be the Wilson U.S. Open balls. I can't remember, but they use it. They use the Giron was complaining about the balls being very heavy.
Hmm. Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching the match against Pair
I feel
because
like he's always complaining about something.
yeah, he just said that these are the heaviest balls I've ever played with. Which, again, you take it for what it's worth. It's a complaint during the
Yeah, I'm
match,
taking that with a grain of salt, right?
but
He was
there's
nice
there's
to,
there's been a lot of complaints about, but it's not the first time somebody's complained about the balls for this tournament. Like that's why it's worth noting. Um, and then obviously the court too, right? Like it's just a different court. Like it takes a lot of getting used to.
yeah, it's true.
It's. I mean, we saw. I mean, so Eubanks also complained about the court today, in his match against Vukic. Um, so yeah, it's definitely
Hmm.
tough.
Yeah,
So it's my point is like I actually backed Pair to well I backed Pair as in I backed your own to win more than 12 games or more than 12 and a half games. Um, but I wasn't super surprised to see Pair keep that competitive. I also want to see Jerome keep winning because he's such a funny interviewee. Like
he
he
actually
just
makes
like
me
gives like
he makes me cringe in interviews. Like
it is pretty cringeworthy.
it's very cringeworthy. No, no.
The best part was he was talking about after his win against Pair, he was talking about like hanging out with his college tennis buddies at UCLA, like betting on how high Benoit Pair's rank would get, like back when he was in college. And I wanted to be like if I was the interviewer, I'd been like, which book did you place that bet on, Marcos? Like, what are the odds? Did it cash? Like,
Uh, yeah, but otherwise nothing else to mention in Newport. I think we got Michelson and Opelka, we got Giron and
Eubanks.
Eubanks. Okay. Who beat
I mean,
Vukic.
again, like could get excited, but he beat Vukic in a third set tiebreak. Quinn, he split sets and needed a tiebreak in the first set. Like, not very impressed.
Yeah, I'm just sad that I lost my 9-1 futures on Vukic.
I think you should be sad about that. I was very surprised that Vukic didn't win. I thought Vukic would
Yeah,
would
I know.
beat. Yeah, I was
Played a bad third set tiebreak.
played pretty bad. I agree. Played bad to
I
set
think he
tiebreak.
just played below his level in general today,
Oh,
right?
the whole match, it just wasn't a good match from Vukic,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. So,
Yeah, but I'm not taking much from it. It's a very odd tournament.
yeah.
Your own if he's able to get over the fact that the conditions are not ideal, he really should win. But if this tournament does suit Michael Mickelson's game really well, I think it's probably the best surface
I mean,
for
he
him.
made the final here last year as a complete, like, pretty much unknown, right?
But like again, like when you see his game, it makes sense. Like he's really good on the low balls. Like it's a
Yep,
slower court, so like it helps him, but it's
I
not play
agree.
where the ball sits up and you need to be able to like athletically hit through the court. So yeah, like the hands are really important. You really want to get to the net. You really don't want the ball bouncing around in this court. Shorter points, like everything really fits Nicholson's game pretty well about this
I
court.
remember him hitting him at 40-1 last year.
We both hit him at 40-1.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, I ended up heading out pretty massively against Manarino too, so I made a nice solid like I
Yeah,
want to say this like 7, 8 units out of it. I think I basically hedged out to where it was 8 units either way. Like
yeah,
it was
right. Yeah. All right, let's take a quick break and then preview the eight
Yep.
semis. All
Yep.
right. All right, welcome back to the show, everyone. So we're back to preview the eight semifinals tomorrow.
Yep.
So I love it that we can talk semis and there are 8 matches to preview.
Yeah, I
It
know.
makes
I
it
know. It's great. It's
freaking
fantastic.
unbelievable. So I guess let's start with Gstaad because those matches are the earliest.
Yeah.
Share my screen here. All right, so the first match is Jan-Lennard Struff against Quentin Halys. Struff is a 3-game favorite, minus 300 on the money line. Halys 240. The over-under is 24. Oof. Um, so I really like the set one overs here. I like the over-under. I think I got it at 23 and a half. Which I
I
guess
mean,
in the
that's not that
big,
different.
yeah, it's not that different.
Like once you get over 20, honestly, anything between 23 and 25 really doesn't matter.
That's true. Let me see what I got. Because I know I hit it early because like I feel like that's a good bet with Struff to just hit the overs. Um yeah, I don't know. I think it's actually a decent parlay piece to go with an alternate over of like 22 and a half and just like and parlay it with something else that you really like. Because I find it hard to believe that this is like just straightforward.
uh, yeah, I hear you on that. It's just like I
I
hear
mean,
you.
Struff against Ramos Manolas went 7-6, 7-6 against
What
Righty.
is the tie break in this match? The over half tie break.
I mean, tiebreak in the first set is plus 225.
That seems pretty good.
Minus 150 over half tiebreak.
Those are the two lines I'd be looking at. Is either the tie break lines. I mean,
I like the first set one at plus 225. That seems really good.
well, where I was going with it is
I also like the Stroop to win in over 22 and a half at plus 150.
okay. I mean, I don't just looking at those, I don't so much. I think you really have to.
Or how about Struff to win every set 7-5 or 7-6 at plus 13-1? I mean, he's
Yeah,
already won 2 matches, 6 and 6.
yeah. I mean, he's played tie breaks in 4 of the 7 sets here. Halys has played a bunch of tie breaks as well. Ironically, neither played a tie break in the quarterfinals. Is there any head to head here?
question.
There is. Struff beat him last year at Indian Wells in 3 sets. So obviously slower conditions. um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know. I think in terms of like picking a side here, I don't think there's really a side I'd want to pick. The over 24 is tough just because you do. I mean, Stroop is the better player. I don't think there's too much of a debate there. So and if Stroop, scraps out one break that under hits.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be looking at the I'd be looking at either the tie, like I mean, the first set tiebreak at 225 looks decent, or the over half a tiebreak at minus 150. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I'm looking at something real quick. I mean, overall in the event so far, 16 of the 23 matches have featured a tiebreak. I
Yep.
feel like these two guys are more likely than average to have a tiebreak.
I agree with that.
So I think based on that, I think you've got to go with the I love the over half a tiebreak. I think that's gonna be my play, is the over half a tiebreak at minus 150. I think the screw play there, I see if you've highlighted the 7-5 or 7-6 bet. I don't think it's a bad play. I mean, I think I think it's okay. I probably won't be hitting it, but
I might actually
I,
play both. I might put half a unit on both. Halys to win every set 7-5 or 7-6 at 35 to 1.
yeah. Let me look at something real quickly here for you to help you out. So this week, I was looking at Struff. So this week, Struff's won 71% of his service points and
Mm-hmm.
33% of his return points, 32.5%. 32.5% return points is not, it's not good, but it's not that terrible for a pretty fast event. This is
Yep.
at altitude. But
Mm-hmm.
71% of serve points won is pretty insane. Halys for the week thus far has been at 68% of service points won, 36% of return points won. I mean, 68 still is really good. The average for an event this would probably be like in the 66 to 67 range. So it still is well above average.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, both guys are serve oriented, right?
yeah, they're both serve forehand guys.
Right. So first strike, and if they have the first strike with the serve, they're gonna like be able to control the
The only
rally.
thing that kind of screws you there over there, Manny, with the two bets you have listed there,
Yeah.
is that you actually could end up like splitting the sets, like, and you won't be crying if you do, but you're going to lose that bet a lot because you're going to have like a 7-5-5-7 or a 7-6-6-7. It's a huge price.
I mean,
Probably
actually I prefer the Stroop one because I think Stroop has a mental gap here.
yeah.
So, but I'd be fine with that because like I also have Stroop futures and stuff, but I don't know. I mean, we always say that tie breaks are coin flippy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm gonna think I think I'm gonna be on the half the under half or the over half a tiebreak at minus 150. That seems like a pretty good price. And
Yeah.
I might be on the first set tiebreak as well. That one I'll have to think about. That's
Slightly
where I
too
would.
juiced for me to play that one. I like the play, obviously, but slightly.
Well, so what if you parlay that, and we'll get to the next match, but if you parlay that with Berrettini, Tsitsipas over half a tie break. And I haven't even seen the line there yet.
That seems like a good play. All right. So I guess let's move on to the next match, Tsitsipas Berrettini. Tsitsipas is a 1.5 game favorite, minus 145 on the money line. Berrettini's plus 120, and the over-under is 25. Um, I like Berrettini plus 120 here. I
Yeah,
feel
so do I.
I feel like Berrettini, like this should be pick 'em pretty much. Maybe Berrettini is a slight favorite in my opinion. I think Berrettini has the weapons to, or especially the serve and the forehand to attack that backhand. And it's such a with Tsitsipas, it's such a blatant weakness and such a easily targeted game plan that he doesn't know how to cope with. That like I feel like Berrettini can just like go inside out to the 9 times out of 10 and find a way to win the point.
Yeah. The
Like
other
Tsitsipas
thing,
will
so,
have
so the
no idea
reason
what.
why this line is where it is, Manny, is that I think Tsitsipas is 4-0 in his career against Berrettini head to head.
Yeah, but when were those matches?
I mean, so there's 2023 United Cup, which is just a weird event 'cause it's a year kicking off the year, yada yada. Um, 21 Rome Masters, 2019 Australian Open, 2017 US Open qualifying. So I'm not necessarily saying I think it's necessarily that relevant, but I think that's why the line is probably placed the way it is, or at least it's my explanation for it. Would be somebody putting in that 4-0 head to head into their like kind of modeling and working out that should be worth something to make this. Because I agree with you. Otherwise, to me, this looks like a pick. I mean, if we look at Tsitsipas at clay altitude this year, the only other, I mean, he's got a win over Fognini, a win over Hamad, and a loss to Thiago Montero. And then last year he made the quarters of Madrid, beating Bernabe, Baez, and Team in a third set tiebreak, and then losing to Struff in 3 sets in Madrid. So I don't know that I'm necessarily a huge believer in Tsitsipas in at altitude. Um, as for Berrettini, I mean Berrettini's been really good, almost no matter where he's been.
Yeah, he's just a mentally very strong player.
He's just brittle. Like we've talked about before, he's just brittle. That's the only problem. I mean,
Right. But he's brittle
Berrettini
with the
made the
body,
final
not with the head.
heater. What?
He's brittle with the body, not with the head.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Berrettini's made a final here in the past. Granted, it was 2022. He did win Marrakesh. I don't know how much altitude Marrakesh is, but he usually plays a little quicker because it's so hot there.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, my plays here would be again
The over half a tiebreak.
yeah. I
And
mean, what is that? If it's anything better than
it's
yeah, minus 175, I think that's playable.
yeah.
I really like that bet actually because I think it's gonna be hard for these guys to find too many breaks. And then given what I just said, I think Berrettini's probably a little better mentally also. I'll rock with Berrettini here at plus money. I think this is I agree with you. I think this is pretty close to a flip.
Would you make it GBM?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's make the Berrettini money line GBM.
Yep. And I'll
And
be parlaying the two no tie breaks, the two
I'm
tie
gonna
break bets as well.
I'm gonna
They're
do that
the
too.
over half a tie break bet.
You can make that GBM as well if you want to do a fun little
Yeah,
part.
we'll do a fun little one. Yeah, tie break,
Nice.
a parlay,
Nice.
a GBM parlay of the day, amateur parlay
Nice.
of the day,
I like that. The over
over
half
half a tie
tiebreak in
break in
both
both
matches.
matches. I mean, just before I do that, what is the weather in Gstaad tomorrow? Probably worth checking that out.
Good question.
Just want to make sure it's not like rainy or something. No, it's pretty nice.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, like low 70s, minimal wind. I'll play that. I'll play the open tie breaks and other like that.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. All right, sound good.
The funny part is Sunday is expected to rain all afternoon.
Really,
Yeah, I
really,
mean, who knows if that'll come in or not, but they're saying 98% chance of rain at 1 p.m. I wonder if they'll play like a 10:30 final or something to try to squeeze it in.
maybe. Yeah, right. And I think I'm gonna play. I'm gonna play this how Struff to win every set 7-5 or 7-6. I'm thinking about the Hollies. I just think that that's very unlikely. I prefer playing the Stroop angle. Um, I like the Stroop to win in over 22 and a half games. Um, yeah, I'll probably put small plays on those as well.
What is Berrettini like? What is the over under on player games for Berrettini? That could be another way to hit that.
25.
No, on player games
Oh,
on
on
games
player
won for Berrettini. So I think that could be another interesting way to hit it.
Bravo 13.
I mean, still might be playable, man. Like I don't see Berrettini getting broken.
And if he wins one set and gets to a tiebreak in another, you get a
You get a push, and if it somehow goes 3 sets, you almost definitely get a win. If both sets are 7-7, I don't know. That could be. It's now. I like the other ways we've played it better, but I think it's another interesting option for people who are looking at for interesting all the other interesting ways to play this match.
I kind of like well, you get plus money if you just bet the Berrettini money line. So probably just go to,
I'll be sticking with Berrettini money line the more I think
yeah,
about
but
it.
the over 13 is enticing.
I mean, Berrettini is incredible, man. He's won 69% of his points this year on serve, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's across everything. But like, I mean, that's just really, really, really strong. 69.5% of his points at tour level on serve this year. And that includes some of the matches he's just thrown in duds when, he just like comes out. It's his second week in a row and he can't play because he's too brittle, but he tries.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, when he's on, his serve is just
And what gives me confidence in this matchup is that like Berrettini's very tactically aware. So I find it hard to believe that if he gets a mid-court forehand, he's just gonna like hit it to Tsitsipas's forehand.
and he hits big.
Right, exactly. So
Yeah. So be able
if
to
he,
rush. Yeah, I like this matchup. I'm not really sure why Tsitsipas is 4-0 in the head to head. I mean, I guess the only thing I'm thinking is it's all old
uh,
data. So
yeah, and
like,
I also think Tsitsipas has regressed since those matchups.
yeah, I'm trying to look at. Yeah, it's just yeah. I mean, that's the only scary thing is that like in Berrettini's prime, Tsitsipas was beating him. But I mean, that was a good time for Tsitsipas as well.
Right,
And it's
exactly.
only a couple matches. I mean, these guys have played. Oh, another interesting thing: these guys have played a tiebreak in all four of the matches they've played head to head.
Oh,
So
wow.
they're more backing for the -175 on the over half a tiebreak. I think that's a.
Okay.
I'm loving that line in both matches. I think that's a. What is that parlay? When you parlay them both together,
Let's see here.
it should be plus money.
Should be.
Probably like plus 150 or something.
Plus 162.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to Hamburg. So we got
Yep.
Baez and Feast. Um, Baez is a one-game dog, plus 120 in the money line. Feast is minus 145, over under 22 and a half. I really like Arthur Feast in this matchup, honestly. I think I'm going to lay the one game at minus 115. I know I have a
Cool.
lot of money on Feast. I just think like he has more firepower. He's playing really well. I don't know what Baez can really do here besides, and I don't know if you notice this with Baez. Like, do you feel like he's overly aggressive? I feel like he should rely more on his movement on clay, which is so good. But he tries to like hit, I feel like too big in certain aspects.
I
Certain.
don't think so. I mean, like, I don't think so. I like the way Baez plays. I think it's more that he Because like he can't just rely on his movement either. Not on clay you also have to hit. You also you have to play aggressively on clay also. Otherwise these pro players are going to tear you up. So I don't think he's overly aggressive. I just think he sometimes he goes through spells where he misses. Like it's you
Right.
know he's like he wins a lot against the um he wins a lot against like lower ranked players. He beats up the lower ranked players, but it doesn't seem to be easy that often these matches.
No, it's
Um,
it's not. And I think he's too short here, even though he's a dog. Like I think fee should be like -1, -200, Baez like +160.
yeah, so that's where I don't agree. I mean, but I get why you would say it, right? Like the question is really like, is Arthur Feast of this week? Is that the Arthur Feast definitely going to come out? You know what I mean? Like, or are you going to get some like Phillies? I think there's like too many chances, like too many instances where Feast comes out and doesn't play well. And not that he plays terrible, but just doesn't play like, makes a few more errors than normal, gets, too tactically jumpy, whatever you want to call it.
I mean, the
Like,
match the match is on Feast's racket, right? So if he's hitting his spots, he's going to win this match pretty convincingly. But if the only way Baez wins this match is if Feast is spraying.
yeah, I mean, if Feast comes out and plays an amazing match, then Feast wins. But that's true pretty often for Baez. I mean, so I'm looking at something here. So for Baez against players ranked outside the top 20 on clay in the past 3 months, right? So focus on the European swing. You could probably
Mhm.
also bring in the 23 as well if you wanted to do that. And I'm actually going to do that real quickly. So against players ranked outside the top 20, or between 20 and 100 in the world on European clay in the past 2 years, Baez is 14-6. Um, 9 of those 20 matches, though, have gone to a third set.
What's the 3-set line here?
Plus, well, it was 135 when I got it. That's my bet.
Plus 130.
It's now down to 130. I still think it's probably playable there. I mean, so the quantitative would be just how often Baez seems to play 3 sets. He's a good competitor, but he does have some mental issues crossing the finish line. We saw him choke against Struff. He's definitely we've seen him have mental issues. Um, and like Fees could play one good set and one bad set.
I
um,
think I'm higher on Feast and lower on Baez than you are. Like I don't think Baez is going to be able to make enough progression on Feast here. And I think Feast is going to be able to get Baez on defense more easily.
I mean, I don't disagree with that. I think you're higher on Feast's ability to like Feast's upside, right? Like Feast's upside in this matchup is higher. I agree with that.
Mhm.
Um, I guess, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm probably weighting the downside of Feast a little higher. Um,
Yeah, but
you know,
he's been pretty good and he's been limiting those down spells more.
this week.
Yeah, but he's done it in what 3 matches.
Okay.
So I think he's going to be able to continue it, whereas Baez is having those down spells, right? Like he lost a set to Darderi, he lost a set to who did he play in the
Yeah, but
first?
Lucas has to Darian Live, which isn't exactly an embarrassment. Those are two clay quarters who are top 50 players in the world. Like that's not that bad.
Okay, but I think Feast is on a higher level. Like I think he has way more firepower than both of those guys.
I think Feast is on a higher level. I don't know if I would say way higher level, right? Like, I'd say,
I'm
right? Like,
I'm gonna lay the game with Feast.
yeah, I've played the 3 set line, is where I've gone with it at plus 130. Gun to head, I'd actually play Baez here. I think this is pretty close to a flip, but I like the 3 set line better. I think that Fees is, or that Baez. I will be a little about Baez mentally here.
Okay. All right. It's cool. Slight disagreement.
Yeah, actually, like I mean,
Good.
yeah, I think a pretty significant disagreement. Actually, I think
Yeah.
it's. But I mean, we're both kind of waiting the same thing, right? It's just a matter of like,
Right.
is Fees gonna come out and it's tough because like I guess like looking at it. So now that we can look at because this is worth looking at too. Um, we can look at both of their stats on the on European clay this year. That's probably worth doing before we move on. Um,
But I think Feast is just generating form. Like I don't think he had a very good clay court season.
all
So
right, so
a lot of
Feast
Feast.
so definitely Golden Swing was bad. He was bad Golden Swing. That's not worth counting. I agree. But
Yeah.
European play season, he's 10, including this week, 10-5. Um,
Okay.
won 63, 77 hold and 34 break for a total of 111 hold break. 63 service points won, 43 return points won for a total of 106. So 10-5, 111, and 106. Pulling those same numbers for Baez. Give me a minute. So 9-6,
Hmm.
107 hold break, and 102 service points won to returns points won. So yeah, definitely a difference. Definitely a significant statistical edge to Fees. So maybe not a bad bet. I'll probably stick with the 3 sets, but definitely would not be on bias here.
Yeah, I like Feast. I like Feast a lot here.
I get it. It actually the yeah, I don't know that I can get all the way to backing Fees here, like a -1 game or -145, but definitely would not be on Baez. I would definitely probably closer to agreeing with you than I was before. Those stats are very interesting. I did not expect it to come out that way.
For me, it was just like more eye test, especially with that what I saw this week.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
just trying to be careful because I agree with you basically on this week. I'm just trying to be careful not to overweight this week. Like
yeah,
it's
but
easy to watch a couple matches.
stats also back it up, right?
Well,
Like,
that's what's interesting, right? Is
yeah,
that's why I thought it's particularly interesting. I think I do think it's interesting because with Fees, if you look at his overall clay court stats for the year, or Baez for that matter, right? Like it's probably closer on the stats if you look at their full year stats, but Baez is better in the Golden Swing. That's the. I mean, he's Argentinian. That's the best part of his calendar. And
all
Feast, I
right.
just don't think is very good in those conditions. So I definitely think there's a lot of ammo here to back Feast. I don't really have much ammo here to back Baez. There's a lot of ammo here to back
Yeah.
Feast. I may end up moving all. I don't know that I'll move all the way to the Feast side. I do think -145 on the money line there is pretty long, or even laying a game at -115 is not nothing. But yeah, I definitely would not be on Baez here. All right, on to the next match. Alexander Zverev versus Pedro. I got nothing here. Like Zverev should be a huge favorite, but he is. So I don't know really what to say here other than that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. I don't really want to play the under either because, like, you know,
Zverev tends to make things messy. I mean, the
does
only
a knee
thing,
does a knee flare up? Like we don't know, right? So yeah,
but
I
I
got
like, but like eye test wise, I don't see what Martinez does to bother Zverev here.
right. I'm kind of thinking of parlaying the Feast money line and the Zverev money line.
Oh, you're gonna parlay a -1. Yeah, I mean, so you're gonna go from
Yeah,
-145 to
yeah,
minus
you
one
get.
fifteen.
Yeah, it's probably not worth it.
I don't know. For me, like once you get money lines of longer than -500, there's a lot to worry about, you know?
Right, right.
Um,
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be off that match. I'm just
yeah, I
gonna.
mean Martinez, for what it's worth, Martinez in his career, 1-9 in or 1-8 overall against top 10 players, 1-3 on clay courts. Obviously, remember the clay court win is one over Rude this year.
Mhm.
But the other matches he's lost. He's only won a set. He's been straight set in 7 of those 9 matches as top 10, which again, like some of those are hardcore matches too, but it speaks to what we said before. Like he's just not like I don't think his game is well calibrated to beat top players.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I
But
agree.
5 games is also a massive spread. So
Yeah.
all right, on to Bastad.
The Bastad, yep. Nadal against Djokovic. Nadal's a minus 300 favorite. Over under of 21 and a half. The spread is 4. Oh man. Um, this is really tough for me because like I just don't know how Nadal is going to respond from that 4-hour match today. Like, is he going to be fatigued? Is he going to come out sluggish? Is he going to come out sharper because he played more? Like, there are just a lot of unknowns. And for
I
me,
also think you can say the same thing about Idukovic mentally. Like he's never played against a top 50 ATP guy before, never played an
exactly.
ATP semi. I don't know how many times he's played even on like well, he probably played on center today because I guess, but he played on center today in the morning, right? Wasn't he the first match on this morning?
Yeah, he
Like
played
11 a.m. Him versus
Montero,
Montero.
right?
Like
He,
I can't imagine too many people showed up for that. Like this is gonna be
yeah.
a crowd unlike anything he's ever seen. Like I don't. I mean, this is just a completely like to me, this is a complete stay away. I just don't think I have no idea how these guys are going to show up. If anything, maybe you could play the Nadal -300 money line in like a parlay or something with the
Yeah, I
Nuno
think
Borges money
I'm gonna
line.
parlay that with Feast money line.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna do that. So do
I prefer parlaying it with
you
Nuno,
think
but
this long
that's just a personal preference.
you think this long match is gonna be good for Nadal or bad for Nadal, like in the big scheme of things?
I don't think it's too relevant.
Okay.
Like he's played long matches before. He's got a week before the Olympics, you know, like so I think
Yeah.
those two things, I don't think it matters too much. But yeah, I don't want any part of that match. I think he summed it up pretty well.
Okay. And then Toronto and Borges, do you have anything here?
Yeah, I like Borges money line here, -1. I know it's a little bit long, and maybe that's why I was thinking about parlaying with the Nadal. But I mean we've talked about this before, man. I don't hate I don't do it very often, but I don't hate the idea of playing these like money lines in the -150 to -200 range.
I mean,
Um
I actually like it with the Nadal piece because like of the mental gap, right? Like I actually
yeah,
think minus 300 holds value, you
yeah.
know.
So
So
you
then
could do that, and that's probably gonna be pretty close to plus money, I would think. It should be like probably if you parlay those two, you probably should get like +120 or something. I'm guessing the Nadal on Borges money lines.
yeah.
Um, so that's where I would go. Um,
Yeah, I like Borges. How about Borges to win the title at plus
oh,
325?
I don't know, man. Has Borges ever played an ATP final?
Mm. Yeah, the problem is we just don't see Nadal beating a Djokovic or Nadal losing to a Djokovic,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah. I gotta look more into the Borges Toronto match. I'm leaning Borges in some capacity.
I mean, this to me is just a better tennis player. Like, I have a hard time ever backing Borges on anything but to win matches because he just plays some awful sets like that. I mean, we got lucky to cash that -2.5, but I mean, Borges can just run some awful. He got bailed by Mickelson earlier this year too, didn't he, on a hard court?
I believe so, yeah.
I mean, I think he's had like at least 3 or 4 times he's been like breadsticked or bagelled this year
Complete
in a
nuts.
set, and it's against like not like it's not against like the top players on the tour, you know.
Yeah.
So like I have a hard time backing him. For what it's worth, this is Borges' first career semifinal as well, even on an ATP tour
Oh,
level.
really? Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know how excited I would be about backing him in the tournament. Just gotta be a little terrified of a final, especially if it's against Nadal. But uh, but yeah, that's my thought there.
Okay.
But it's also, I mean, Toronte's never has barely played on the ATP tour, so I'm not like, you know, this match I'm okay with playing Borges on.
All right, and then we got two matches in Newport, right?
Yeah, yep.
Where are the Newport lines?
Oh, Borges also got breadstick by Musetti, and he got bagel by Luca Pui.
Didn't he get bageled or breadsticked in like his home tournament in Estoril as well?
That was Pui.
We, yeah, I was like, what the? I remember laying games in that match, and I was disgusted.
Yeah, it's it. That's why it's just like that's why I'm actually playing like the oh, and he got breadstick by Vertinen too in Davis Cup. Again, it's why like I'm not I don't want any part of laying games with him because he just could play a terrible set. But like oh,
Yeah,
but I'll play him on the line. He really should beat Toronto. He's a better player.
yeah. All right, and then Riley, Opelka, and Michelson in Newport. So Opelka is a 1.5 game dog plus 125 on the money line. Michelson is minus 150. The over/under is 25.
I have been hard on this line because it's like if this gets to like minus one, like it's so close to where I'd want to just hedge it and take Michael because I do think Michelson wins this match. But minus 150 is pretty long against Opelka's serve. Like, I don't know. Like, and is Mickelson like it's not like Mickelson is this like super quick or explosive return to get a like is he gonna get a ton of balls back? I don't know. Like so
Yeah,
like I would never
but it
back
could,
Opelka here.
yeah, but it could
I
go the
do think
other
this
way, right?
court
Like Opelka, I feel like, I mean, the first serve is basically unreturnable, right? But like the second serve, I feel like he doesn't place that well. And
I mean,
Michelson,
he's winning like 60% of his second serve points this week. He's doing pretty well on it.
but he's played, I feel like guys that don't have the hand skills to deal with that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
Michelson does. How has Michelson done against like guys 6'4" and above?
Ooh, that's a good question. 2-6 in the past 52 weeks.
Ooh.
Lost to Crasso, and this year he's 2-3. Lost to Zverev, Rinderknecht, and Berrettini. Beat Kokonakis and Cressy. So
Okay.
I just think this court suits like this. So if you want to make it, I mean, I think you can make a case for both guys here. So the case for Mickelson would say that this court just suits him really well and his game really well. You know,
Yeah.
and would say that he's um and would say that probably his run this tournament's been more impressive than um than Opelka. I don't know. I mean, he's won easily, right? Well, Opelka's won 3 matches in 3 sets.
Right.
Mickelson's won four in both his matches pretty convincingly. Mickelson hasn't been broken yet this tournament. He was a finalist last year. Qualitatively, it suits his game. It's a slow grass court, but it's a lot of low, like difficult to dig out bounces. Where his ability to like his quick hands, to your point, Manny, help him to dig a lot of balls out that other guys
Mhm.
don't dig out on this court. Opelka was really unhappy with the court in his match against Mackey, complaining about the holes in the court. doesn't really look like they've done much to solve that or can. He actually asked if a grounds person could come out to talk to him, and the actually called the grounds person and told him that the grounds person couldn't do anything. They could talk to him, he said, but they couldn't do anything, so Opelka dropped it. Anyways, my point is like that would be the case for Mickelson. If I'm going to make the case for Opelka, I mean he's serving really well this week. He's winning 90% of his first serve points. That first serve is, to your point, man. He's basically unreturnable.
Mm-hmm.
He's winning 60% of his points off the second serve. Um, he's got an off day here, and it's his fourth match of the tournament. Like you'd think for Opelka, the more like you'd think that like especially given he's getting an off day, like 3 matches in a week wouldn't be bad,
I
right?
think
There's
the off day
been
is good. I just think that rallies really favor Mickelson.
so I'm making the case for Opelka. I agree with you on the case for Mickelson. I'm saying like I think you can make a case for either guy here. That's why I'm staying away. I've been hawking this because if it gets to like -130, -140, then I'll take Mickelson as a hedge. I think that's a good enough price for me, but I have a hard time arguing with anybody on this match. I think you can make a pretty good argument either way.
Yeah.
I think the line is reasonable is my point. I don't think it's like ridiculous.
What's the tie break over? Oh my God, -225. Jesus. No, thank you.
Oh, I mean the other case for Mickelson too, right? Is like, yeah, the return points 1% stat looks pretty bad, but I do think I get the feeling that he just tanks a lot of return games. And I feel like when he like, I don't know, when he's like really motivated to return, like he's not as bad of a returner as like it otherwise might seem.
Yeah. Man, this is a really, really hard match to cap. I'm really struggling. Like I want to hit an over here, but I don't want to hit over 25. 3 sets is not really good enough because it's only +120. I kind of like the over 13s here because 7 and 7 gets there, right? And then 3 sets pretty much gets there either way. I think
Yeah. It's hard to imagine anybody winning this without it's hard to imagine
exactly.
it's hard to imagine an under 20 coming in.
Exactly. So
Me
I
like
think
it's hard to imagine this being like a 4-4 or 4-3 match. I've got to think there's something competitive
I
here.
lean Michelson to win the match, honestly. I'm gonna. I mean, I hate to say it because I'm also rooting for your 28-1. But I think I'm gonna hit the over 13 for Michelson. I think that's gonna be my play.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's completely like I to the point you made before. I think this is a pretty reasonable line. I think you can make an argument for either player, like why you would back them. Um,
Yeah, no, I like your reasoning. Makes sense. Makes sense. All right, let's move on to the last match. I'm falling asleep here. Eubanks and Giron. So Eubanks is a 2.5 game dog +155 on the money line, over under of 23. Giron is -185. I really like Giron here. I really don't think Eubanks was good. It is good anymore. I think that was more bad Vukic than good Eubanks today. Uh,
yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's gonna be a lean or a play for me. I'd lean your own. But I don't know, man. Like,
I'm tempted to lay the games.
well, that's where I was going to. Like, if I'm gonna play this, I'll probably lean the games with your own. But
I think
I don't.
I think the notion that like Eubanks has this like amazing serve and it's unbreakable, like I don't think it really holds true. It's not Opelka's serve, right? Like there's a big discrepancy between their two serves. Like, yes, Eubanks is tall and he can, hit some aces, but like Opelka's serve is miles better than Eubanks.
I think the spin that Opelka generates is amazing compared to Eubanks.
That too. That too.
Like, yeah, I don't, and I think and I think Opelka's wide serve is much better than Eubanks's.
I agree. I agree with that.
Um, But so I agree with you on that that statement. Yeah, I mean, it's probably the right place to go. I just and Euron looked a lot better against Bolt today than he did against Pair in his opening match. And you could logically, that makes sense. I mean, yeah, I'll probably end up getting behind Euron here.
Hmm.
It's minus 110 for the 2.5 games,
Yeah.
right? It's probably not a multi-unit play for me, but it's probably a half unit play. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
And Giron is plus 210 to win the tournament. Um, and Michelson is plus 200. Opelka's plus 400.
Yeah, I'd be close to hitting Euron here. I mean, I feel like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think Euron's are pretty good. If I had to hit somebody here, I'd hit
Because I
Euron.
think he has the easier semifinal.
Yeah,
I think Eubanks is the worst player of the four.
I agree. I agree.
So, and that's not what the books are judging. So there is some value, I feel.
I agree. I think Eubanks is being, yeah. I'll probably end up playing the games with Euron.
All right, so just a quick recap. So I'm on the feast. I'm laying the one game. It's probably going to be 2 units for me, actually. I like parlaying the feast money line with the Nadal money line. That's going to be a play for me as well. And I have feast future, so that's a big match for me. Zverev Pedro, we're staying away here. I'm just going to be
Yeah,
rooting.
so I'm on the 3 sets for feast pays. You mentioned that? I couldn't hear it.
I didn't mention it, but okay, that's cool.
Yeah, that's my play here. And then, I mean, another interesting point on fees. I think fees has only played a tiebreak in like 2 of 17 matches on play this year.
Okay. Good.
So I'm contemplating adding the under half a tiebreak at minus 250 to that tiebreak parlay we have.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense with Fee's game. Like he's so erratic, it's hard to see him like.
Sense. It's just not good enough of a price
I
for me.
hear you. I hear you. I probably won't. I mean, I'm tempted to play it. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
You
I'm
know, we won't. We won't. We'll leave the GBM parlay just the two tie
okay.
breaks.
All right, sounds good. Zverev Pedro,
No bet for either of us. I think
no
this is.
bet. I'm just
Yeah,
gonna be rooting for Pedro for my feast for my feast
I'm
future.
sure rerun for Pedro because I like to root for Pedro.
Yeah, I know. Struff and Halys were on the tie breaks, right? It's gonna be the
Yeah.
over half a tie break, and that's gonna be parlayed with the Berrettini Sissipas over half a parlay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I thought we had something else here. Berrettini money line, right? Plus
Yep.
125.
Yep.
You're probably going to be on the set one tiebreak at plus
And those
220.
are both GBM, right? For the
Both
Berrettini
GBM.
money line and
Yep.
the half tiebreak bets. Those are both GBM.
And I think the Berrettini over 13 is a terrific look as well for anyone that wants to play that. Like, I think either way is good. It's just you
Yeah,
just
I
get a
would agree.
slightly better price on the Berrettini money line.
I agree.
So Bastad, Nadal, Ajukovic. I mean, I'm gonna play the Nadal money line as a parlay piece with the Feast money line. Um,
Yeah, I'm pretty much a stay away there.
yeah, it's hard. Like, I just mental gap is a big part in that match. I'm reluctant to hit anything else because I don't know how Nadal's body is gonna respond. But like, even if he's like 60%, like I still think he finds a way to win that match. You
Yeah,
know,
probably.
so.
Probably.
Tarante Borges. I mean, I know you're on the Borges side. I'm probably gonna tail you. Ugh.
Just a better tennis player. Like
Yeah, you're probably
it's the price kind of stinks. It's a little bit like I get it though. It's a little it's longer than I'd like. Like I'd like it a lot better if it was minus 140, but you know, what can I do?
yeah. I think I'm gonna lay but you don't like laying games with Borges, right? Because of
Just
the
so liable to play bad sets, you know? Like he goes out and does what he did against Puig against Bagel and your bet's done. And like if he plays it, I mean, if he gets beaten six, I don't like. I don't know. Toronto seems like the type of player to me that he's not gonna be able to do what he did to Roca. You know?
But the thing with Toronto is he's gonna make balls, right? So if Borges is spraying, then that's when it becomes problematic for him. You know?
Right, but if he does that for a set, if you play the money line, if he does that for a set, it's fine, right? He's
Exactly.
just
If
got
you,
enough
if
of a
you lay
limit.
the two, then you're screwed.
Yeah.
So I think I'm just gonna put Borges money line in parlays.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Uh, And then in Newport, Opelka Michelson. I'm on the Michelson over 13.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna end up staying off of it. It's
My hope is
like
that it
yeah.
goes Michelson goes over 13 and Opelka wins. Because that's possible.
Oh, there's a lot of outcomes where that's possible,
It
right? Like,
is.
I mean, all of your 2-1 Opelkas basically.
Pretty much, yeah. Exactly. And then I'm probably gonna lay the 2.5 with Giron. Gotta think
Yeah,
about it.
I'm very tempted to do that as well. That's
Yeah.
the I wasn't gonna do it originally. I'm yeah, the more I think about it, the more I think you're right. It's I mean, Euro should really be able to find
You
one or
should
two
find
good
some breaks. You should find some breaks. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, I'm falling asleep. It's been a long day. It's been a great day of betting, but I also had work and played 3 hours of tennis, so I'm toast.
Yeah, I'm trying to get over an
Oh,
illness, so I need to get some sleep too. So
yeah.
everybody, have a good
All right,
night.
everyone. Have a good one. Thanks
Yeah,
again.
enjoy the pod. Thanks.
Peace out,
Bye.
guys.
Good luck on your bets.